For most of my life, I just spent so much of my time trying to figure out how I could possibly live to be as old as I possibly could, because my mindset was the most you can get out of life is however long you can live it. And, well, that's kind of how the world looks at it. I didn't realize it, but that's not the biblical way of looking at life. The best life you can have isn't how many years you spend on this earth. It's how many years you spend with God. And, as growing up as a Christian, obviously I knew God was the truth and everything, but I didn't think about life, my time on earth, from that kind of perspective where it's like I spent most of my life trying to live to be 120. I believe that's as old as you can be here on earth. And it's like, now I'm trying to get out of here as fast as possible. When I realized that, this isn't even the best to come. Heaven is a million, billion, jillion % better than anything here on earth. And I'm just like, well, now get me out of here. I don't even want to be here another second. In this crazy, crazy world we're in now, in these very last days where everything is just madness and insane, and everyone's just trying to get you, and just the devil's just trying to wear you down, and just whatever you do, no matter how you're trying to live life, it seems like everything is just working against you and nothing's working out, and you're just like, man, this is exhausting. I don't know about you guys, but living in the last days is exhausting. Some days you're like, man, if I did not know for sure that God was the truth, I would just want to give up. But obviously we know in our hearts, otherwise we wouldn't bother. But we know that God's the truth, and so we can't give up because we know that our redemption draws nigh. So look up. We don't have much longer to wait, guys. We are so close. And I wish I could tell you the day or hour, for as much as I'm trying to figure out just how close we are to getting out of here, because we know it's soon. And I just wish I could tell you that it was for sure this year, because I was really thinking it was. And every time these dates come and go, I'm just like, okay. Now what? I mean, we keep looking, And I guess it just means that God's tarrying, that he's just giving us a little extra time. I mean, obviously, he hasn't changed the date he always knew the exact date from the very beginning of when he set the date. God always had the exact time, the predestined, preordained time or whatever. So it's like, we'll get out of here when we get out of here, and until then, just keep seeking Jesus, keep getting closer to him, and keep striving to be more like Jesus. And yeah, I just think it's funny, looking back, how ridiculous it is that I would want to be here on earth for that long. I'm like, earth is not that great. I mean, obviously God made it, and there's a lot of beautiful things about it, but man, I feel like I'm just going through so many struggles and just so many what ifs. I don't know what's gonna happen, but God's got everything under control, and I worry a lot about financial situations because I haven't been able to work, for so much of my life because of my skin issues, and there's just so much into that. And I've been living with my parents my whole life because of that, because I haven't been able to work enough to have my own place. And I'm just like, how could I ever start a family if I don't, and it's just like, I don't have all the answers, but I have so much hope in that if the rapture doesn't happen as soon as it seems like it's going to, God can move a mountain without even thinking about it. If it's his will, he could just make all my problems go away just without even hesitating. Nothing's too hard for him. So if there's anything you're struggling with, anything you're stressing over, all these what ifs about your future, you just gotta trust God that He will take care of you, because that's that's how it works. Have faith, and you'll see what God will do with that faith. So you gotta trust that He can do it. There's been so many stories of people that they had no idea how they were gonna make something that sounded so impossible work out, and sometimes it does require, like, God does have you have a leap, a step of obedience in order to get to that place. I wish I could remember off the top of my head, but like there's stories about people who were like, they only had $20 left to their name, and someone needed it more than them, and they felt like God wanted them to give that to them, and they did, and then God blessed them abundantly. Like, I don't know, there's just so many amazing, crazy stories. So like, whatever you're struggling with, whatever uncertainties you're facing right now in your life, you just have to have that faith. That's the key. Because some of this stuff feels impossible, and some of the stuff in my life I feel like is impossible without a literal act of God, without a literal miracle. And God can do it. And I don't know what God is or will be asking me to do for that leap of faith, for that step of obedience to get to that place. But I do know, ever since putting God first in my life a few years ago, I've been he's been working on me and making so much progress, and I've been getting so much closer to Him and learning to let go of these things of this world and learning to live more and more in obedience and be closer and closer to Him and look more and more like Jesus every day. And like, where I was a few years ago, I was in no way ready to do the things, like a few years ago I could have never had a family. Like, there was no way. I was in no position to do that. Like, just everything where I was at that point. But because of my obedience, because of the things I have sacrificed to God to give up these things that I didn't want to let go of, like, I've noticed in my life that there's been times when I see a very noticeable change in how much closer I feel to God after I let go. And that's all He's been waiting for. If you're holding on to something, just let go and watch what God will do. It's amazing. And I don't know what that looks like for me yet. For the future, I don't know what's going to happen. But maybe God's just waiting for me to let go of something that I maybe didn't even realize I needed to let go of. So I need to keep seeking and keep praying and just keep striving to get closer to God and just find out what exactly it is that I need to do. And maybe it has nothing to do with me, because God's timing is perfect, and maybe it's just something else that needs to happen first for things to move forward. And yeah, I don't know. I just kind of, I didn't like write this out ahead of time what I was going to say. I just wanted to start recording and just say what was on my mind, because I haven't been making as many videos as I usually do. Like, I usually make them like every day, and I just haven't been, but I've been a little busy and stuff. And so if you guys want to pray for me, you could just pray that God would provide me with a job, the right job that I could handle with my skin and everything. And just, things to work out in life, things, that He would just lead me to where He wants me to be. And yeah, because there's a lot of uncertainties, and it's been very stressful. I'll just say that. But I know God can do anything, and so if I could just ask you to pray for me, I would very much appreciate that. So, but it's just one of those things, because it's like, I think we're really close to getting out of here, guys, but just in case, we can't just stop living our lives, and that's something I've struggled a lot with. I'm like, but we're so close, so why even bother? But it's biblical to work and to just, you don't just stop. But yeah, anyways, I hope this blessed someone. God bless you guys. Peace.